everybody. My name is Maralee Burnett, and I am back again with your tarot messages for the week of March 10th, 2025, which is all about the upcoming full moon lunar eclipse, which will be completely visible here in the United States. So it is going to be a wild ride. You want to make sure you're here for all of it. So be sure and click on that subscribe button down below. Like, comment, share this content with anybody that you think might want to be well prepared for the craziness that is about to unfold. And I really appreciate you for showing up for it. All right. I'm going to spend most of the time really focused on the fact that we're going to have the lunar eclipse on the 14th here in the US, and the fact that we have the ruler Mercury, because this is a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. Well, Mercury, the ruler, is going retrograde immediately following the eclipse. So there is something we have to spend time considering as a result of what is shown to us, what we have to see, and then do the work and release it by the time that new moon solar eclipse hits 2 weeks later. So it is an exciting eclipse season, and we're going to break it all down together. So let's, as usual, dive right in. Now, if you want to make sure you're more prepared and haven't done it yet, then go out to my website, maraleeburnett.com, and there you're going to see all of my written content. Plus, you have all the access to these past videos, my daily videos that I post where I take a tarot card, give you a message, and give you a little mini astrology lesson as well. So you don't want to miss those. It's just a quick minute of your day. Then you can go in and explore all of the written content, my hypnosis content. If you really want to connect to the energy of the zodiac, all of that is out there and available for free. And once you become a member of my site, then I send you the content via email. So you have things like this March horoscope where the daily protections are broken down for you, and new moon, full moon, every month. Those articles are included, and there's a new moon worksheet that you get each month as well. So lots of free content. Go out there and enjoy it. All right. So now we're really going to dive in, and we're going to start with Monday. But again, really brief information on the days leading up to the eclipse. And we're going to really dig deeper into this eclipse meaning and the Mercury retrograde. And let us not forget Monday, March 10th, here in the Astro Gold land of software, we are seeing, speaking of Mercury, getting closer to Venus that is now retrograde. And on Monday and Tuesday, she is highlighting the solar eclipse point. That solar eclipse happens on March 29th. Those are more dramatic, typically, but this full moon lunar eclipse is definitely going to give it a run for its money. So we'll be breaking that down, and I'll explain more on that in a moment. But as Mercury and Venus cross over this eclipse point, and remember, Venus retrograde now is hitting it for the second time, they are showing you something that you need to be aware of and pay attention to, because it's all about the message for you personally about this eclipse and for the collective, right? These are fated events that impact all of us, and somewhere it is impacting you in your life and in your chart. And you'll want to know where that is. So if you haven't done it yet, make sure you prepare a free chart. Go to someone like astro.com, plug in your birth information, and look at where do you have this 9 degrees of Aries, because that is where we're going to see this dramatic new moon solar eclipse that keeps on going, because it will get activated again when Venus goes forward, as Mercury goes retrograde on the 14th, and then as Mercury goes forward. So this eclipse season is unusual because it continues to get activated. So it isn't a one and done. This is really something we have to pay attention to, and we have to show up for, and we have to do the work. And we're getting a lot of helpers coming in, exposing what we need to know in order to do the work correctly. All right. So pay attention Monday and Tuesday, especially on Monday, as that moon is in Leo and speaks in harmony with Venus, and Mercury back here in Aries. So there's a lot of firepower, and the moon's our emotions, it's our intuition, it's what we need to feel safe and secure. And so there's something helping you do that on Monday as the moon speaks in harmony here with Mercury and Venus in Aries. All right, let's take a quick look at Tuesday. So on the 11th, we are seeing the exact conjunction of Mercury and Venus, and it's very close to the eclipse point, of course, which is at 9 degrees. So there is the potential, right, for Mercury, our communication, our mind, our communities, our transportation, movement in some way is coming together with Venus in Aries, the things that we love, what we're willing to fight for, money, right? This is all about our independence. And so there's some kind of messaging around fighting for our independence or somebody or some country's independence that becomes a part of this eclipse storyline. And we see the message in a big way on Tuesday. So for instance, this person's chart, if this were a real person's chart, not a transit chart, has Mercury and Venus coming together in their 12th house. So there is something about this collective energy that is bringing something to the surface, right? 12th house is all things that are hidden from us. It's our spirituality. It could be large institutions where we become stuck and trapped. Also, that is our subconscious mind, right? We become stuck and trapped there. Things that we believed in long ago are still running around in there. And so there is something for people with 12th house energy that is being exposed so that you can see it and respond to it. So pay attention again on Tuesday, March 11th, to whatever is coming up for you. And maybe it's in a weird, odd way because on its way towards Virgo, the moon and the sun meet up at a weird angle on Tuesday. Something might not quite feel right. Something seems strange and off. Well, you're not crazy. That's whenever the moon makes this inconjunct or quincunx contact back to the sun. And of course, the sun's marching ever so closely to Saturn. So this is a week where we need to be disciplined. We need to have good boundaries. We need to set healthy boundaries in our relationships, personal and business. And something about our boundaries might be tested on Tuesday, March 11th. All right, let's march forward to Wednesday. And on Wednesdays, when you're going to see the sun and Saturn connected at 22 degrees of Pisces. And 22 is a master number, of the master builder number. There's something important that we're building together as these two planets join. And of course, Saturn is discipline. The sun's our success. It's our ego self. So there may be two powerful egos that are collaborating on this day in some way and in your own life, right? The Saturn energy is older. It's a mentor of some kind that is trying to help guide you on what it is that you need to do to be successful. Now, you may need to work harder in this house that you have this Pisces energy in your chart. And Saturn's trying to show you what that means, and you just need to execute against whatever the plan is, whatever the structure that is being given to you, you need to execute against it. Now, Saturn is trying to contain the feelings, the emotions, the intuition, right? All things that are assigned to any water sign. It's also our, as I mentioned, spirituality. We may see something involving the Pope this week because of this energy in the sign of Pisces that's going to oppose that South Node Virgo moon energy that we need to release. So it's an interesting tale that we're going to explore here in just a moment. But this is the setup to the work that we need to do, is whatever the sun is shining a light on that we need to pay attention to. whatever this plan is that we need to execute against, we're going to see some kind of negotiation likely on this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday energy days. All right. Then we are going to head on till Thursday and notice what we're starting to see here is the build up to the eclipse energy that's going to involve Saturn, the Sun, and surprising Uranus. So again, while the eclipse day, of course, is important, it's all the days leading up to it, the days following. This eclipse season, the strongest energy is usually the 6 weeks around this eclipse event. The 2 weeks leading into it, the month of the eclipse energies, the 2 weeks following. This is the intense point, but eclipses, the cycle is 18 months. So we have just seen since the middle of January what the work is, the fated work that involves the North Node and South Node that are activated during the eclipse. And that North Node in Pisces and that South Node in Virgo are trying to tell us a story. So something is getting activated all week long. We're starting to feel it build up in intensity. And Uranus is about freedom and breaking free, innovation, surprises and shocks, twists and turns that you never thought you'd see coming. So there could be some surprising alliances, for instance, that show up this week that, again, are going to shock us in some way. All right. That is my comments for Thursday. And now here we are. It's Friday, and we are talking all about the eclipse energy. And so let me move this so that I can actually show this event. All right. So the full moon, if you are in Mountain Standard Time or earlier, is going to happen almost at midnight on the 13th. And for everybody else, it's happening on the 14th. But I have this pulled up now so that it is exact to the moment. So what makes an eclipse as exact is when we have the sun or the moon, both obviously, connected to the north or the south node. And so this is a south node eclipse because it's a full moon. So wherever the moon is what we're focused on during this full moon lunar eclipse. It's in the sign of Virgo. It's in the sign that is, like I lovingly refer to it as OCD, right? It's all the details. It's all the information. It's all the control that we think we need to have. But there's something about that energy because of the South Node being what we've already done. We've already been here, done that. And the South Node says, hey, yeah, you're really good at being OCD and catching every detail and controlling everything and everyone. But it's time to let that go. It's time to lean more into faith, right? Which is what the Pisces energy is representative of, about being free flowing with the energy, which is water, right? Waters can be contained, which is what Saturn's been teaching us over the past 2 years. You have to have good structure like dams, right? There's purpose when we direct the energy in a particular way that serves us. And so there's this balance between how much does it need to be contained and how much can free flow, right? So this is the tangent. How much do I need to control and how much do I need to just let go and have faith, right? Well, there's always a little bit of both needed. That's the point of an opposition. So we have this opposition between the North Node and the South Node and between the Sun and Saturn and the Moon in Virgo. So this in and of itself, as far as oppositions go, is pretty intense energy, but you've got the little moon, right, sitting down there by itself, having to fight against these big superpower energies, right? So this is, as far as what we're seeing in the world, right, it's the little guy that is fighting against the big guys. And there is something that is being let go, that is being released, that involves this little guy feeling overly controlled, right? So there there is definitely a struggle. The struggle is real in your own life too. So wherever you have this Virgo house, which we'll break down by sign in a few minutes, you're being shown where you're being too controlling and where you need to let go, where you're being unhealthy and you need to let those things go, because Virgo is also about our health and our healing. It is natural methods of healing. And the other thing that I like about eclipses is considering using the energy to remove blocks, right? So what is it that you're doing in your day-to-day life? Sixth house things, which is the Virgo house, that no longer serve you, right? Is it an unhealthy diet? Is it a job that you're not valued at? What people do you associate with on a day-to-day basis that you're no longer aligned with? Right? So all things having to do with these Virgos topics, the sixth house topics, those are what we're getting ready to move away from. And how we move away from them, because of this element of surprise from Uranus, could really shock us. It could be completely unexpected. It can be sudden and abrupt, which is fate, right? Fate suddenly closes a door, opens a new one, exposes a path we didn't realize was even there. And it's emotional when it's the moon. This is letting go of the things that we think we need to feel safe and secure. We have a security blanket that's no longer providing security. It's become a trap somehow. And so this Uranus energy comes along and goes whoosh, and tears that blanket off of Linus and says, you don't need it anymore, right? Snoopy reference for those who don't know what I'm talking about. And then you have to suddenly discover what it means to not have your security blanket anymore. And how will you move forward with faith, right? With the help of these leaders, this structure, these guides, these mentors, because when we let go of the South Node, then we're leaning into the North Node. So there is something ending, something being eclipsed out of our lives, and it can happen in a really shocking way. Then what is so interesting, as I mentioned, is here we have Mercury slowing down and getting ready to turn retrograde right after this event happens at, of course, 9 degrees Aries, which is where we're going to have the new moon solar eclipse. And that one's usually more dramatic, where we see something in our day-to-day lives. Sometimes those lunar eclipses, because it's more of an emotional letting go, it's something, that tears at our heartstrings, but it's not usually as dramatic as a new moon solar eclipse. But I'm going to tell you, this time we are going to feel it. This is a collective emotional experience that we're going to share that impacts a large part of the world by whatever is being let go. Then what the Mercury retrograde adds to the story is something that we have been maybe looking at over the past 3 weeks as Mercury's been moving forward. And keep in mind, these retrogrades are unique because they're covering Aries and Pisces energy. So they're going to go back and talk to the North Node, right? And say, okay, what's the deal? Am I on my path? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I learning the lesson? And what do I need to do to create the closure that's needed in order to move forward? And Aries is the energy where we're considering what we want, what's important to us. Aries is a fighter. It's a warrior. So we're doing something to stand up for ourselves, to speak the truth, and to be heard. And so as we let go of whatever this eclipse item, event, emotion is for you, then we've got to consider, what does that mean for your life going forward? And is there some restructuring that's required? So this isn't a time of rushing through whatever this is. If it hurts, you can't just go, I'm done with it, I'm moving on. You kind of consider what it was, the event, what was the pain associated with, right? Why did it happen? And even if you can't answer that question, how do I make sure I don't go through this experience again? And if you're reliving 2006, well, then this is your big aha moment to go, okay, that's how this all started. And I don't want to repeat that pattern for the next 19 years, which is how long it takes the South Node to come back through the sign of Virgo. So it's a lot of heavy lifting that requires us to slow down because we have Venus and Mercury in retrograde, and really consider what we want for ourselves going forward. Healthy boundaries have to be part of that. And so as these planets move back into Pisces, where we have the stellium of energy, including Neptune, its ruler at 29 degrees, an anaretic degree, we're being tested. Do not repeat the patterns. That's my best and strongest advice for you. You know what you've been working on the last 14 years while Neptune's been through the sign of Pisces. Do the work. Dissolve what needs to be dissolved. Take off the rose-colored glasses. Set those good, healthy boundaries. See the things that are needed to be seen, right? Because Pisces is things that are underneath the water. And all of this planet energy in here with the eclipses is stirring the waters up, stirring our emotions up, making us deal with things that we've been shoving down for a long time, so that now we have to face them, we have to see them, and we have to deal with them. But then once we do, we're free. Right? We get to start over. We get to start fresh. Now, while Uranus is surprising and shocking, it is speaking in harmony, right? So it is trying to help us. But if we're hanging on, if we're fighting it, we are unwilling to see the truth, then the shock will be stronger. When I was a little kid, I used to torment my younger brothers and sisters by taking the blade of grass against the electric fence. And if you're the first person in the line, you don't get the shock. It's the person at the end that does. And just in fun, right? And that's Uranus, right? It's like, okay, let's have a little fun. If you're not paying attention, I'm going to give you a little jolt that makes you become aware for your own good. Because a trine and a sextile, the blue energy lines that you see here, those are helpful, but we have to do the work, right? Energy is always there and available for us, but we have to show up and do something with it, or it works on you, and it's not a fun experience when you're being worked on by the universe. Okay, so Uranus is speaking in harmony with Neptune, the North Node, the Sun, and Saturn, right? So again, something shocking involving spiritual leaders, something shocking probably involving the Pope. It could be something shocking involving somebody in the music industry, the art industry, beauty, right? Think models, actors. And the 12th house that Pisces is a part of is also endings, right? So there will be shocking, surprising endings. This is the last house. And huge, shocking secrets will be exposed in some way. So we will wait and watch and see. And again, in your own life, take a look. Where are you being too structured? Where are you being too restrictive? Where are you being too controlling? And where are you wearing rose-colored glasses? Because it's time to see the truth, a big truth in some way. And then you got to review it for the next 3 weeks with the help of Mercury and Venus retrograde. And then Mercury will end its retrograde on April 7th. And then Venus will end her retrograde on the 12th, right as we'll have I think it's the full moon in the sign of Sagittarius. So this energy, like I said, isn't just one and done. We still have a lot of work to do. In fact, the work really continues. You can go out and read my articles until we get a little bit of a reprieve in June once Jupiter moves into its favorite place, which is the sign of Cancer. But we have so much still changing throughout the summer. Like I said, there'll just be a little bit of a breath to take, and then once Uranus gets into Gemini, things are really going to get crazy. All right. go watch my 2025 video. I have the links to that below for some historical facts about those changes, about when Neptune and Saturn move into the sign of Aries. So much still to change in the year ahead. So let us do a brief rundown of what you can expect potentially, right? Your chart is your chart. Depends on if you have personal planets in these areas like I do. And I keep sitting back going, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? What's going to happen? Even I do it, right? It's hard to be objective when it's your own chart too, right? So this is things to consider, but it may be a little different based on your chart. And I use the whole sign houses, so this is very general information, and this could hit a different house for you. And keep in mind, these are two houses with whatever the Aries energy is and the Pisces energy is, whatever the Virgo energy is and that Libra energy is, because of the fact that those retrogrades cover both signs. And the North Node will actually be in Pisces while the Sun and Moon are in Aries. So this energy of beginnings and endings, it keeps going. We still have things to go back and end before that new beginning can happen for us. So with that, let's start talking about the signs. You want to watch this for your sun, moon, and rising, but for now, we're going to focus on the sign of Aries. And Aries, for you, this will happen in your sixth house, right? So Virgo is the sixth house for Aries. And so that means the sun and moon are doing all the things that I described at the top of this section, which is showing you what you need to let go of, what you need to release that's a part of your day-to-day life. And there's tension, right? There's shocks and surprises that help you see what that is. So sixth house is health and work. It could be your pets. It can be being of service, right? Anything that you do on a day-to-day basis that is no longer meant for you, it's no longer healthy for you, right? Virgo, health, that's what you have to let go of. And you can choose to let it go, or you can choose to be guided to let it go. But I always recommend the first option. And then keep in mind, for you, the helper, Uranus, is in your second house. So there is something, maybe somebody at work or a surprise change at work that creates this change for you in your day-to-day life. All right, let's talk about Taurus next. So Taurus, this is happening in your in your fifth house. And the fifth house is the house that speaks to your heart. It can be about romantic partners. It could be about a child. It could be hobbies, anything that you're really passionate about. That's that fifth house energy. And you have to take a look, right? Am I in a toxic relationship that I shouldn't be in? Am I in a toxic relationship with one of my children, right? Am I in denial about unhealthy behaviors that they continue to exhibit and I keep letting them walk all over me, right? What's the storyline for you? That's where you need to let go of controlling everything that happens to your child, because it's not allowing them to grow. So what's the storyline, right? Well, Uranus is in your first house, right? So this is you creating maybe a shocking change that maybe affects one of your children. Maybe you decide you're suddenly moving, you've fallen in love, whatever it is, it could have an impact on the other people in your life. And so don't go too crazy, because remember, we're in retrograde season, and the things that we do in retrograde season, we could regret. So try to keep your Uranus energy a little bit under control, but pay attention to where you're being guided. Maybe your heart's been shut down for so long, and now you're suddenly going to break free and allow yourself to find love again. All right, let's move on to Gemini. Okay, Gemini, this is your fourth house of home and family. And so this could be letting go, like you've been living at home too long and suddenly you're going to move out. It could be a sudden change. A family member could move out. You could be moving away from your mom. Your mom could be moving away from you. This is surprises and secrets involving your ancestors and your family that could suddenly come to the surface, and you could suddenly move unexpectedly. So there could be, for instance, because Uranus is in your 12th house, you could work for a large institution and something changes drastically within that institution and they relocate you, right? They demand that you come back into the office because you work from home. And because of that, you may make a choice to move away, right? And if there's any controlling family members that you live with, there's got to be a change, right? There's got to be healthy boundaries put in place. If you have a controlling mother, this is the time where you put your foot down and leave and lead your own life, right? So something about home and family. And then consider this as your physical body as your home is right. It carries the soul, right? There could be something that you want to release and let go of that's not healthy for the soul. Okay. Cancer. Cancer, you are experiencing this event in your third house. Now, the third house can be extended family members, like cousins, siblings. It can cause you to, again, move away from them, move away from your community, move away from any community that you're a part of that's not healthy for you, that's trying to control you, trying to not allow you to express yourself and be yourself, right? The third house also is, think of simple things like transportation, right? So maybe you're going to let go of a vehicle. Maybe you have too many of them. But it's also the way we think and how we communicate. And so if you have any unhealthy behaviors associated with that, this is the time to let them go. It's a good time to go through talk therapy, hypnotherapy, anything that would help you expose unhealthy ways of thinking, unhealthy ways of overreacting. But how you communicate, if you haven't been speaking up for yourself, well, now you're going to have to do that. And it doesn't matter if people say, you're just being too sensitive. No, I'm just being who I am. I'm Cancer. I'm emotional. That's who I am. But how you communicate your feelings, that can be what you're learning to do better and let something go. Now, this Uranus surprise that helps you do whatever you need to do differently in your community could be the result of a friend, right? A friend who offers you something that creates a big change in your life and could cause you to leave a community that you're a part of to pursue this new opportunity. But again, you're going to have to spend the next few weeks investigating it to make sure it's what's meant for you and do all of the homework that would be involved in making some kind of a dramatic change like that. Okay, we are moving on to Leo. Leo, this completion involves the second house, the money that you make, your self-worth, the things that you see value in. And so when we have an eclipse, an ending in your second house, there could be something ending that you do at work. So your role could change, your job could change, you could have to leave the company at this time, but trust the process, because anything that ends while we are in eclipse season is for a reason. And we have to have faith, Pisces, that it's going to all work out in the end. So I know it's so unsettling when it's the job that we lose, because again, it's our emotional security blanket. I can only do this job. I'm not good enough for anything else. I'll never find anything better. Those are the thoughts that will keep you unemployed for a very long time. So make sure that's not what you're doing. But again, if you work at a job where you're not valued, if you work for a company whose values don't align with your own, then you may need to let something like that go. And then as a result, a better thing will come in to replace it where you could end up making more money, right? So that Uranus shocking surprise is in your 10th house of career and status. It could be something to do with your reputation, but there's definitely something about your career. And again, it could be a surprise offer for more money somewhere that comes out of the blue. And you should explore it, you should research it before you make the big jump. But typically, what's coming up now is obviously meant to be. But that doesn't mean you just leap blindly. Again, we have to have that balance between blind faith and doing research. All right. Then we have, okay, Virgos, this is your show. So, Virgo, this is you. This is your first house. This is the self. This is where you identify all the unhealthy behaviors, thought patterns, diet, anything, again, in your day-to-day life that is not serving you, and you learn to let it go, which is so hard, right? Because you're so good at being this OCD, controlling, detailed, freak, clean, healthy person. But sometimes even that can be at an extreme level, which you gotta stop doing, because you don't have to be perfect. I know that's hard to hear. Perfectionism, it's such a strong trait. And that's the thing about the Pisces energy, right? It's like, I'm not perfect. I'm okay with it. But the Virgo stuff, man, you've got strong Virgo energy anywhere in your life, in your chart. You see every little flaw. Now, it's good, right? If you work at a business where you're supposed to be catching flaws and project managing, and right? But on your own body, first house, the view I have of myself, stop the nitpicking. Stop trying to be perfect and release that and let it go a bit. Now, the Uranus energy in your 9th house could be a big awakening of some kind. 9th house is foreign people, foreign places. It's also higher education. It is a spiritual leader like Jupiter that rules over the 9th house. That there's this big aha moment coming for you. And maybe that's just this one that I just described where you're like, who cares? How old am I and how long am I going to keep doing this thing where I think I have to be perfect? Has anybody cared up to this point that's healthy for you? Okay, go on, but we're going to move on to Libra. All right, Libras. So this is a 12th house lunar eclipse. So those themes that I talked about with Pisces, right? All those things, those subconscious thoughts, the things that you keep hidden and stuck, trapped down beneath the surface because you're so much of a people pleaser. Like, this is the time to stop doing that and to realize that what you want, what you need matters too. And you're going to be willing to stand up for yourself and express what you need and have better, healthier balance. Now, you've been doing the work for the last year and a half because, of course, you've had the South Node going through here. But now there's a chance to finish it up, right? Whatever you've been learning for the last year and a half while you had the South Node in your sign, there's a little bit of buttoning up to do. And that's the opportunity that you have coming up, is to finish that, to create good, healthy relationships, and to let go of any component of that associated with the way you're programmed to be this people pleaser that you are, and realize that there's a better way and make those necessary changes. Uranus is in your 8th house, right? So this is a complete rebirth and transformation that's probably going to shock the people around you as well. But let it happen. It's for your own good. Okay. Next, we have Scorpio. Scorpios, this is going to happen in your 11th house of your friend groups, your networks, your mentors. And so if there is one of those that is no longer healthy for you, where you're being held back, where you're not able to fully express your power, right? Scorpio is about power. And so those associations will need to come to an end in order for your light to shine, right? And it's always a little scary, right? If we have to let go of friends, or we've been a part of a group for so long, how am I going to make new friends? And the other good thing, though, you could consider is the eclipse can remove the blocks that you have that keep you from being able to make new friends. So focus on friendships, and especially those that are no longer serving you, and how to connect to new ones as a result of whatever it is that you let go. Now, with Uranus in your seventh house, right, the sign that opposes you, there could be something that shocks you that is involving one of your serious relationships. It could be a business partnership, it could be your marriage. And in some way, that partner is what helps you do this 11th house work that is showing up for you, helps you realize the people that hold you back from being successful and from fully stepping into your power. All right. Then we have Sagittarius. Sagittarius, this is your 10th house. This is your career. There is some goal that you've had about your career that's coming to completion. For some, there is a career that's ending so that you can pursue a new opportunity. And again, don't be afraid when we lose things during the eclipse because it's fated. I'm supposed to move away from this situation so the right one can come in. But if I hang on to fear, I'm going to push the new opportunity coming in way out, and it will go out as far as I hang on to fear. But this is also a time where you can experience amazing growth and opportunities where your career goes, as long as you are aligning, right? Letting go of the things that I'm being too controlling about, having more faith, getting more creative with just Pisces energy, and being more in the flow. Well, then I'm achieving my goals with the help of this eclipse energy because my blocks to success are being removed. And then that Uranus surprise, of course, happens in your 6th house of the work that you do. So this could be, again, a new surprising opportunity that you didn't see coming. It could be a financial opportunity, but of course, Taurus is money and finances. So this, while it might feel a little scary, is good news at the end of the day. All right, Capricorns, that means that this is happening for you in your 9th house of higher education, of growth and expansion, of purpose, your connection to spirit. So there is a growth opportunity that is showing up for you that will allow you to do just that. So are you working somewhere where you feel like there's this glass ceiling that's keeping you stuck and trapped in some way? Well, then this eclipse can help you let go of those emotional feelings where you don't think you deserve to have something bigger, something better for you. Now, with that Taurus energy in your 5th house, it's suggesting that maybe the job that you're doing isn't fulfilling your heart, right? The house is the things that you love and that you're passionate about. And so you might get this little helper who comes in and gives this big burst to your heart, a little zap, and reminds you why you do what you do, why you love it, right? So if you've been feeling disconnected from life, right? This full moon lunar eclipse can help bring something to a close, and then that will break your heart open so that you remember to use it, not just work hard. All right. Next, we have Aquarius. And Aquarius, for you, this is happening in your 8th house. So the 8th house is death, rebirth, transformation. It is power. It's also money and resources that come to us from other people. So on the darker side of the energy, right? Let's say that you have been getting help and dependent on somebody else to take care of you. Well, this would be the time where you realize that's not healthy and that you need to start taking care of yourself. Now, this is also the house that rules over our intimate relationships and partnerships. So if you are in one that, again, is toxic and not healthy for you, well, then you have the opportunity to use this eclipse to end that situation, to end your codependent relationship and move on to one that will be healthier for you. Now, there could be a surprise involving home and family with this Uranus energy that could be like an inheritance. Maybe someone in the family wins the lottery, right? And that affects you in some way that totally transforms and changes your life. I'm signing up for that one if I was you. All right. And last but not least ever, we have, of course, Pisces, where all of this energy is in your sign with that Saturn, the Sun, the North Node, Pisces. That's a lot, right? This is about you understanding your purpose and your path. But you have to look across the sky where that full moon lunar eclipse is happening in your 7th house of your marriage partner. And that means something has to change in your relationship. So if you're with a controlling partner, either the controlling partner needs to change or you do, right? There needs to be better balance in your marriage. And if you're not married, it could be whatever serious relationship you're in, usually long term, or it could be a business relationship, right? This is the 7th house of commitments and contracts. And so there's something about that contract that you are in that isn't healthy. And you have to pay attention to the details, pay attention to the truth, and make some pretty big dramatic changes. More so if it's Pisces rising, but just as impactful if it's your sun or moon. So just be prepared for big changes and trust the process. Now, maybe you've been in a big, long divorce battle, then this eclipse will help you bring it to a close, but in a shocking way because of that Uranus energy that is sitting there in your 3rd house. So there could be, let's say you're in a struggling relationship and Uranus in your 3rd house of communication would help you guys suddenly have a breakthrough so that you finally hear what the other person is saying instead of just always being combative. And then that creates huge change and a rebalance and restructuring of the marriage, and it can continue forward in a healthier way. Okay? So, of course, these are all just examples of some ways that this could show up. It's just a single layer. There are many layers. And as I mentioned before, your natal planets that are especially in Virgo and Pisces are getting lit up. What's in Taurus, right? Around that 24 degrees. But these planets between these 23, 28, all those planets, no matter where they're at in your chart, are all getting activated in some way. So there's something important to see and experience and understand during this eclipse. And so, as I mentioned, it's either going to be Thursday or Friday, depending on where you're at. It is fully visible. And if you want to work with the eclipse energy, then I would set intentions to remove the blocks in whatever area of life you have this event occurring in your chart and just let it go. Let it come to completion. Let it come to fullness. Use that darkness, right, to see what you never let yourself see, and then let it go. All right, let us get back to the energy for the rest of the week. I'm not going to break down Friday any further because, of course, we just talked about it with the eclipse. And then you'll see, what are we doing over the weekend? Well, we've got Mercury retrograde, and it's going to sit on Saturday at that eclipse point. Of course, Venus is starting to move back farther, but Venus and Mercury are pretty much walking hand in hand through this entire retrograde. So, which makes me feel like it's not work you're doing alone. You've got help. You're being guided. You're being shown things that you need to see and you need to reconsider, right? Who am I? I mean, it just keeps coming up. And what do I want? I've really got to make some decisions. And then once these planets move into Pisces, it's time to dissolve and move on. So that is what we're seeing on Saturday and Sunday. So we've got a few days of this Mercury energy tickling that eclipse point. Oh, look, my dog's coming to say hello. And then we have till March 29th to understand the work, to really focus in on what needs to be eclipsed out. And on Sunday, we have a brief yod with the moon in Libra. So something about relationships that we need to rebalance. Something about our emotional attachments to people. And the way to get the help is with the Saturn. So there's healthy boundaries. And even as it speaks in harmony with this Uranus energy in Taurus, right? Value, self-worth. So there could be this sudden feeling. That's what a yod is. It's like I suddenly have a calling and I have to respond. And it's brief, but it's part of the storyline, this aha moment that you begin to realize what's needed. Where do I have to make these changes? Where am I not valuing myself over other people's needs? And how do I make that adjustment in a way that other people are accepting of the changes? If you want to stay in balance, but not be a people pleaser, you just have to consider both people in the situation and help each other, right? That's how we have healthy balance. Okay. All still eclipse energy will be in it. So even though the next week we're going to not be in the lunar eclipse, right? But it's as that light drains from the full moon that we do the letting go work. So Mercury, our mind, is helping us see what we have to let go of. And the moon's helping us do the emotional release work. And then it keeps draining down and down and down until we get to that new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Aries at 9 degrees, which will be on the 29th. So this is going to be happy St. Patrick's Day. Watch how you celebrate, and especially driving, right? So when Mercury is retrograde, transportation becomes challenging. And so you want to just slow down, right? Call an Uber. Definitely don't drive yourself if you're out drinking green beer on Monday. And watch your conversations, right? When the mind and the mouth don't connect well, we can say the wrong thing, especially in Aries. Like our language can be very explosive and attacking if we're not careful. So slow down and think before you speak. That's what you should be doing for the next several weeks as we see Mercury moving backwards through the sign of Aries. And remember, you've already seen this. There's something that you've been going through over the last 3 weeks. This is my something that now you can consider the whys, right? Why does this keep happening? Too much pickleball, too much typing, too much, oh, you name it. Anyway, enough about me. So as the week progresses, right, we're doing the work. We're in between the eclipses. And so we will just continue to experience that, but there's nothing else major going on until we get to the 20th. And that is where we're going to have the beginning of spring, right? The spring equinox, the balance of the light and the dark, right? So we're going through tremendous change. And as the sun moves into the sign of Aries, this is a new beginning, right? A lot of us say this is the true new beginning of the year. Now we're rarely ready to explore what we want, to stand out, to be ourselves. And so we'll talk more about that next week as well. So, but if you want to read about it again, go out to my website, check out the March horoscope. You can also see April and May. Eventually, I'm going to start working on the summer, but I'm not there yet. So let me know what I can do to help. Comments are always appreciated on any of my platforms, and I just really appreciate you taking time out. All right, have an amazing eclipse season, and I'm hoping that you're just releasing what no longer serves you, and that it's easy and effortless. All right, guys, take care, and we'll talk again next week. Be sure and check out your weekly tarot card messages as well. Those, along with this astro lesson, are going to give you the big picture. Thanks again for tuning in. Talk to you next week.